Hi, today I'm teaching my brother how to roll fondant to cover a cake. To begin, we gathered all of our materials and washed our hands. Today we are covering a dummy cake. If you were covering a real cake, you would first do a crumb coat to ice it, but for the dummy cake, we are just going to brush it with water. So we're simply going to lightly brush with water, being sure to get the edges. And then we are just going to set this aside while we roll out our fondant. Now you want to make sure your table is dry so that your fondant does not stick. And then I like to take a piece of fondant and rub it over the table to pick up any imperfections that might cause a flaw in the final product. We're then going to dust the table with a mixture of half powdered sugar and half cornstarch. This will keep the the fondant from sticking to the table. Now we're going to unwrap our fondant. You want to make sure your fondant is covered when you're not working with it, because otherwise it will dry out and cause what is called elephant skin, which is dry cracks in your final product. Now we are going to dust our rolling pin and lightly dust the top of our fondant to keep it from sticking to our rolling pin. You're now going to roll out the fondant, trying to keep it as circular as possible. You want to get it large enough to cover your dummy cake, and you want to try to get it between 1/4 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch thick. If you go thinner, it will tear easily, and if you don't go that thin enough, then it will be very thick and it'll be harder to cut whenever it's on the cake. When you're rolling it out, every so often you want to pick it up slightly and move it a little bit so that you make sure it's not sticking to your table. As you're rolling, you want to make sure that you keep an even consistency across the whole dough. You don't want one side of your fondant to get thicker than the other side. Smooth out this. You're pretty thin in the middle, so you're going to want to just thin the edges a little bit, and then that should be pretty good. Alright, that should be okay. We're going to dust our rolling pin one more time to make sure that the fondant doesn't stick, and then we're going to pick the fondant up and put it on our cake. To do so, we're going to roll the fondant onto our rolling pin. So starting at the top, we're going to slowly roll the fondant on very loosely. You don't want it to stick. If you have someone to help you, have them move the cake, and then you want to try to center your fondant as best as possible on your cake. Now, starting at the top of your cake and working your way down the sides, you want to smooth it out, pulling very gently. You're going to pull down as you smooth it out. This will help you to not get creases in your cake. So if you would like to try, you're going to just pull out and down and then smooth. You want to use the palm of your hand and the side of your hand. Don't want to use your fingers, because if you use your fingertips, you will poke holes through your fondant, which will cause flaws in your final product. You're going to want to work all the way around at the top, and then all the way around at the middle, and then all the way around at the bottom. Try not to work all the way down in one spot, because otherwise you'll end up with a bunch of wrinkles in one spot at the end. On square cakes or rectangular cakes, you can work all the way down in one spot, but on a round cake, you have to work around, starting from the top to the bottom. If you get a tear, it's okay. We can try to patch it at the end. So over here, I'll try and help you with this little spot with the tear. I think this spot was just a little thin. Okay. It's not bad. There are some flaws, but I think you were just a little thin in some spots. And then this here was caused, I think, by it drying out a little bit. This is what happens when you have elephant skin. And then it starts to crack. So when you pull down on the cake, it creates those tears. So we're going to trim off the excess here now. So if you take your paring knife, you're going to just trim around the edge, leaving just a little bit left at the end. So you can go around the whole cake. Now we're going to pick up all of our excess So we're going to wrap it back up in our plastic wrap. And just set it off to the side. And now to trim the rest of the fondant off the bottom, I like to use a container that is slightly smaller than the base of my cake. And I will put the cake on the top. And then I go around the bottom. And as you work your way around, you will get a nice clean edge all the way around. The top of the cake for you. Then you just put your cake on your cake board, and you can smooth out any areas that might have been pulled away while trimming at the bottom. And then you have your finished cake covered in fondant. Very good. Thank you.